The Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome opened in 1982 to be the home stadium for the Minnesota Twins and the Minnesota Vikings. It was a domed stadium with a Teflon air-supported roof. When it was built, the football stadium was the main use. When it was used for baseball, seats would have to be moved back. When the stadium first opened, it fit in with the popular trend of teams playing in domes and multi-use stadiums. There were a high number of other cities with teams sharing stadiums. This quickly became outdated though, and by the late 90s and the 2000s, most fans were tired of it. The facility was shared by the Twins, Vikings, and the Minnesota Gophers football team. The Timberwolves also played basketball there for a season. In 2009, the Gophers left, followed by the Twins in 2010. The Vikings remained there until the end of the 2013 season. On Sunday, December 12, 2010, the Vikings were scheduled to play the Giants at home. That weekend, a blizzard hit Minneapolis, and at 5 a.m., just 7 hours before the game was scheduled to kick off, the Metrodome roof collapsed. The field got covered in snow, and the game had to be moved to Detroit. The roof was later replaced for the final few seasons at the Humpty Dump, as some fans called it. The Vikings shared the Gophers Stadium in 2014 and 2015 until they moved into US Bank Stadium in 2016. The Oakland Coliseum opened in 1966 as an open-air multi-purpose stadium. The first team to play there was the Oakland Raiders in 1966. The Athletics baseball team joined them when they moved from Kansas City in 1968. They shared the stadium until 1981, when the Raiders moved to Los Angeles. In 1995, the Raiders returned and played there until 2019. In 2020, they moved to Las Vegas. Today, the Oakland A's still play at the Oakland Coliseum. Because the stadium was shared by two different sports and it's old, many problems started to come up. The football field had baseball dirt on it during the baseball season. Also, the giant upper deck at the very top was hardly ever used for the last few seasons the Raiders were there. On one sideline, there was a large amount of open space as well. There has also been possums living in the stadium, and it's had plumbing problems. Overall, the Raiders got a very nice new stadium in Las Vegas. Cleveland Stadium opened in 1931 and was the home of the Cleveland Indians football team. In 1932, the Cleveland Indians Major League Baseball team started playing there as well. For many years, the stadium was used for both baseball and football. For football, there was lots of open space on the sidelines, which looked very odd. Plus, the infield dirt was also on the playing field there as well. Baseball stopped being played there after the 1993 season, but the Browns continued to play there for 2 more years. By then, the stadium was very old and outdated, and the Browns ended up relocating to Baltimore and becoming the Ravens. The Cleveland Stadium capacity for football was 81,000. The stadium was demolished and a new stadium, which is the current Browns Stadium, was built on the site. The Pontiac Silverdome opened in 1975 as the home of the Detroit Lions. The Silverdome was one of the first indoor NFL stadiums after the Astrodome in Houston. It's very similar to several stadiums that came after it, like the Kingdome in Seattle, where the Seahawks played, the RCA Dome, where the Colts played, the Metrodome, where the Vikings played, and the Georgia Dome, where the Falcons played. A pretty typical dome, it had an artificial turf playing field and multiple levels of seating all around. By the 1990s, this style was becoming outdated and lacked some character. The Silverdome was the home for the 1981 Super Bowl, and it was also where Tom Brady made his NFL debut. 2001 was the Lions' last season there, and then they moved to Ford Field. The Silverdome hosted a few events over the years, but soon became mostly abandoned. Sometimes people would sneak into it over the years, and the stadium deteriorated. It was finally demolished in late 2017. Shea Stadium was the home of the New York Jets from 1964 to 1983. It was also the home of the New York Football Giants in 1975. The stadium opened in 1964 as the home of the Jets and the New York Mets of Major League Baseball. For football, the field looked very strange. There was dirt on the field, large amounts of open space on the sidelines, temporary seats, and not enough seats in some areas. Overall, it looked really weird. The capacity for football was a little bit over 60,000. The fact that it was shared with baseball caused some weird things, like it often does. Eventually, the Jets moved into an actual football stadium, and the Mets later got a new stadium as well. Shea Stadium was demolished in 2008. The Buffalo Bills played at War Memorial Stadium from 1960 to 1972. This stadium opened back in 1937 and was first home to Canisius College. When the stadium first opened, the capacity was 36,000. They later added more seats, which caused it to look sort of weird. It did increase the capacity though and raised it to 46,000. That was better for the NFL, but still sort of small, even back then. The field was also shared with the Buffalo Bison's minor league baseball team. Overall, the Bills played there for 12 years before moving to their current home of Highmark Stadium. War Memorial Stadium was later demolished in 1989. Before the Patriots played at Gillette Stadium, they played at Old Foxborough Stadium. It opened in 1971 with a capacity of about 60,000. The Patriots played there all the way until the end of the 2001 season. It became outdated and did not have very many luxury boxes. It also didn't have good enough plumbing for large crowds and had portable bathrooms most of the time. Most of the seats were also just backless benches for the fans. Because of the location of the stadium being away from the city, traffic leaving was also a nightmare. There was also no overhangs or covers for fans sitting in the seats, leaving them completely exposed to the elements. For many of these reasons, it became very outdated. The Patriots got a new stadium for the 2002 season and were scheduled to demolish Foxborough Stadium in December of 2001, right after the season ended. However, the Patriots would make the playoffs, and the famous tuck rule game was played there in snow, delaying the demolition. It ended up being demolished later on in 2002 after the season was over. Candlestick Park was the home of the San Francisco 49ers from 1971 until 2013. It was also the home of the San Francisco Giants of the MLB from 1960 to 1999. The stadium first opened in 1960 when the baseball Giants moved from New York to San Francisco. It was an MLB stadium that could be converted to an NFL stadium. Obviously, this caused it to look strange. There was temporary seats that could come in on the sidelines, and the way the seats curved away from the football field looked sort of odd. For football, the stadium also had some obstructed views, difficult playing field conditions, and several power outages over the years. The 49ers made it work for many seasons though, even after the Giants moved into a new stadium in 2000. Then the 49ers had it all to themselves. They played there until 2014, when their new stadium opened. Candlestick Park got demolished in 2015. Overall, the stadium was legendary, but also very unique. The Washington Commanders play currently at FedEx Field. Many fans view this as the worst current stadium in the NFL. It has had some problems, like plumbing, and has also had parts of the stadium break. There are also a few obstructed views inside of it. The stadium opened in 1997 and has a capacity of 58,000. Many parts of the stadium seats have been unused over the years. As of right now, there are no official plans for a new stadium. The San Diego Chargers played at Qualcomm Stadium from 1967 until 2015. It first opened in 1967, and the San Diego Padres moved in 1969. They shared for many years until the Padres got their own field in 2004. It was also the home of the San Diego State football team. The capacity was 70,000 for football. The stadium had sort of large amounts of open space on the sidelines, but other than that, it looked mostly normal. However, it started to become outdated and deteriorate. It soon needed lots of repairs and maintenance, as pieces of concrete were flaking and metal was rusting. Another thing is that they had the most outdated scoreboard in the NFL. The Chargers ended up moving to Los Angeles and sharing a stadium with the Rams. Qualcomm was demolished in 2020. Today, the Chargers are now called the Los Angeles Chargers. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.